Hey, this is another edition of Chris's Comments, common ground, common sense, no matter what the subject. I'm going to skip the long intro this time because of the viewpoint that's going on here in San Antonio, Texas. In the state of Texas alone, there's really no two viewpoints that are the same in one location. You got a variety going on all over the U.S. as well as down here in Texas. Now, most of the people that are doing these comment shows, they're doing them from the West Coast, East Coast, up north. But I hardly see anybody doing it down here in the South. So this is where this show comes up. Common ground, common sense, no matter what the subject. It's basically a down-to-earth point of view for one little San Antonian. And on this segment, it's the additional testimony of the Texas winter that took place in San Antonio, the Texas winter crisis that took place here in within 1 week of February 2021. I'm going to start off with just before it happened. Just before it happened, I had gotten sick. I gotten a cold. There was nothing really major. It's just something that I could, that a couple of shots of NyQuil could take care of. I even treated myself to the rest and relaxation with the chicken noodle soup and doing all that bit, sitting at home, just enjoying time. When I got better, when I got completely well, I took a look out the window and it was snowing. I was like, where the heck did this come from? So I was out of touch, and this thing happened, and I thought it was really pleasant. After the first snow, I tried to get to work, but my car was stuck in the snow. So I waited it out a little bit. I took the rest of the day off. I waited it out. Later on, when the snow started to get broken up by the traffic around the city, and major roads were being shoveled off by construction road crews, I got a chance to work a little bit. Now, the city was dead for a little while, so I only got a chance to work for a few hours, earn a little bit of pay, and then I had to go right back home. That's when the power outages started to take place, where we were having, over here on the northwest side, we were having power out for like about 10 hours, and we'd get like 5 hours back to us late evening. But overnight, the power would shut off again, and we'd be waking up to a whole freeze. A whole new freeze, and that was really trying, because it would stop us from making use of everything that we need in order to get ready to get back to work, to get back out there. Now, in my case, it was a little bit challenging, because a lot of people just weren't leaving, so they weren't making any requests. I'm a rideshare driver. I went to. It also had me spending my days looking for places to get hot food. Cold food wasn't really that much of a problem. Cold cuts, leftovers, and all this good stuff. That wasn't so much the problem. We would get hot foods. I would get hot food whenever the power came back on and I could cook something. But that was short-lived. We would get the power for a little while, and I had to go back to driving all around town to get something. Stores were closing because the shelves were emptying. I remember one morning I got, at a gas station, these kebabs with 8 little chicken strips, 8 little chicken chunks on them. And that was it. And the choice was that or potato wedges. And, I wasn't really in the mood for any starch. And the meat is a little bit heavier. So I went ahead and went with the little chicken kebabs. And that was it. That was it for the rest of the day. That was the only hot food that I could eat. And that was just one day out of it all. Later on, as we started to get more and more access to the grocery stores and started to get more and more power coming back, we wound up getting this water crisis. It turns out the snow that went up to 4 inches and stuff, wound up freezing down underneath the ground and started messing up our sewage, our water supply, and the water main. Some kind of bacteria was being built up. So we had to boil our water, and we had to get into those charity lines to get packs of bottled water, and that's if the stores, whatever store that we could find water, we would buy water. Now that really wasn't too much of a problem to this San Antonio. There are people that were suffering a lot worse than me. And that's really because I've always bought bottled water. So I had already a small supply that was lasting me throughout this particular week. That wasn't too much of a problem. When we had power and we had to boil our water, that wasn't too much of a problem either. One time my water furnace broke and all I was getting was cold water. So I had to learn how to boil water, pour it in a big soup bucket, what we Latinos call a caldo pot, where we cook caldo in. And that's a vegetable and meat soup. And then take it with me into the bathtub to where I'd use it to wash and rinse and all this good stuff. And if it was too boiling hot, if it was just too hot, then I'd turn on the faucet and let the cold water in, and the temperature would cool down, and I'd wash out, and that's how I stayed hygienic and kept from getting sick and all this stuff. Now, fast forward 4 years later to 2021, and we have to boil our water, but we have to do it for the sake of sanitation purposes, because of some kind of bacteria backup due to the freezing sewage and water main lines. That was very concerning. It was very scary and a little concerning, because of the fact, it's more than just staying hygienic. You're having to bathe yourself with water that was contaminated. The only thing I could think of is, oh my God, we're going straight to Flint, Michigan standards. But that was the worst case scenario thinking, next to maybe fracking. But that's and still, to top it all off, I didn't really have it as bad as many people out here. Once the public started to come back out, when power started to give in and started to make way, and people were capable of moving back to going to jobs and looking for work, and if they didn't lose their job, they would go back to work, and they would call me again, the rideshare driver, and I would take them back. And I was listening to some pretty serious testimony from these riders, these requesters. It was my heart's gone out to them and everything. They're struggling with power. They were struggling with power outages. There were some that were getting 5-10 minutes of power and then 12 hours of none. There was water that was still being backed up, especially in apartment complexes, certain apartment complexes over on the west side, where their plumbing was just weak as all hell. They were getting it pretty bad. They were having to travel out of the neighborhood on a 50-50 chance that they'd be able to get to a water service, or water bottles off of shelves, or a water donation place, and hopefully get something, get a good amount of water to take back home. And that was very, very, heart-sinking to hear. And hopefully they get those testimonies out there the way I am for all of you here. You guys need to know what's going on the way we need to know what's going on over there. Because there's a lot of people that say, well, the media is not covering it. Yeah, but neither are the people that are complaining about the media. I'm still finding out just earlier in February, around Valentine's Day, somebody gave me a testimony about water still being a problem from post-Hurricane Katrina. That's from 2005. 15 years ago, uh, for crying out loud, you know, 16 years ago, sorry. Um, that's still a problem. And then they go through this freeze, and then they had a pandemic where people were losing their jobs, and they're all exposed to, they're all kicked out of their homes. They're not being hydrated. They're not being kept in good conditions. So it's an incredibly serious testimony. It's really a heart-shaking thing to hear, heart-sinking thing to hear. And so this is my testimony about this. I came out okay, but there's a lot of people that didn't. There's some that are still actually struggling. They're still over there. I'm currently a few miles south of SeaWorld, where one of their parking lots is open, and they're actually handing out packages of 12. It's a 12 pack of water, and they're only giving one per car. So they're still donating, and people are still getting in line for it. And that's what's going on currently here at February 24th, just a couple of days after the freeze, but still with water problems. We've got the city saying that it should be cleared up by now. Now, this is the 24th. Yesterday, I actually took a glass from the faucet and started to drink it. It tasted a little funky still. It's not really funky, just not as pure as it used to be. Not as clean as it used to be. So I played it safe. I just dumped it back into the sink and went right back to my bottled water. February 24th, that's where this San Antonian is standing. There's still a lot more people that are hurting. There's a few people that are not so much. Some, they're outnumbered by the ones that are hurting. And the reason why I say that is because I'm listening to these people. They're all still getting bottled water from the donation stations. They're all still going over to buy a gallon of water for 35 cents vending machines. And they're still getting in line in grocery stores where they know water will be coming. And they're getting in line, and they're getting the limited. Sometimes it's limit 2. Sometimes it's limit 2 per size. Sized water. I've also gotten those liter bottles, not just water packs, packets of water. So that's what's going on right here. If any of you out there have anything to say, especially before all the scandalous people start giving their testimony and their bullcrap conspiracy theory and their hype rhetoric that this was all a ploy, and this was a media thing, and this was a government thing, this was a liberal thing, this was done by all those guys that are butt humping each other, to all the way down to this is done by all those guys that are letting migrants in. This is, where I'm going with this. They're out there. They're going to start saying this kind of horse crap. So this is a testimonial right now of what happened during the winter freeze crisis here in Texas. This is what happened here in San Antonio, Texas, through one guy that sort of wavered through it all, and giving you the sort of status of what's going on. There's still a lot of people that need help. Those donation stations still need to be open, and we're slowly getting everything back together. There's a little bit more to talk about, and I'm going to stop with this thing because this is all that I wanted to do for this particular segment, was just give my testimonial. The bitching and complaining about people that are already going to start with the denials and theories as to what really happened and all that's going to come up in the next video. Today I'm just going to let it all out. But for right now, this is the information that I want all of you to know. And I hope that there are other people down here in the South who can contribute their testimonials and their opinions and their comments of what's really going on and how they're handling it. This is how I handled it. This is my testimonial on how I handled it, and you know, just everybody out here who's viewing this to know. Keep the information going. Keep the information alive, especially if it can be factual. That's really more important. So that's it for right now. For this segment of testimonial, I've been out for over a week, starting with getting sick, and then waking up to the snow, and then going through this crisis and wavering through it all till now, where we're healing, we're getting better, because we're not hurting anymore. It's not really messing us up. I parked right here in front of a highway access road for you to see businesses going on as usual. It's reviving. It's coming back. We're gonna go back to congested highways in no time. We're gonna go back to douchebags speeding through the parking lots in no time. You know, those assholes. We're gonna go back to normal soon, if we can get away with saying that. So that's Chris's comments for right now. Stay tuned for next upcoming, and hope you find this useful. Hope you find it helpful, and I hope that you hope it inspires you to keep the information going, keep talking. Thank you so much for your time. Chris Garcia out.